Welcome back to the channel, folks. Today, we're not camping. We're doing the other part of owning an off-roading rig, is working on it. So today is gonna be more about wrenching and less about camping. But you know, you gotta do 50-50 split there. You know, you gotta keep up with maintenance, keep up with modifications, improve the build, and then also go out there and enjoy it. So today's one of those days where I'm gonna be working around the truck and fixing some things. For one, the freaking stealth camping setup needed a little bit of tweaking, including that curtain that goes in the back to black out the rear window. So I'm gonna try something I picked up today at Home Depot to see if that's gonna be a good fix or not. But to run over the list of stuff, LEDs in the dash, my dash lights went out. After I had replaced them with LEDs, they slowly but surely the diodes in them basically broke. So at the tail end of things, had no illumination coming from my dash, which at nighttime, can't tell how fast I'm going, no idea what the tach's at, no idea what fuel level I'm at because I can't see anything. So LEDs in the dash. I do need to do lower control arm bushings on this thing, though I'm not doing that in today's video because that is a whole project. Painting the shackles I did off camera. I'm going to show you those. I did the idler pulley. I'll show you that. Also, fender trim, took care of that. So going over some of the stuff I did off camera because it's not that fun, but I'm going to show you guys on camera all these tweaks that I've made. But really the point of today's video is going to be to get my solar setup back on top of the cab of the Tacoma, which includes putting on the roof rack that I have, and then I also need to modify that roof rack because with the GFC, it overhangs over the cab a bit, so I'm gonna have to cut some stuff and chop it down to make it fit. So basically get the roof rack on there, get the solar panel back up on there, and then thank you to one of you guys, and I think the last video when I was asking about wiring my solar panel into the bed of the truck. I used to do that through my sliding window on my old fiberglass shell, but with the GFC I don't have that option, and one of you guys actually in the comments said to check underneath the frame rail on the sides of the truck bed, and sure enough there's actually holes in there, which they're not massive, but I think I can possibly run the wires through there. So I'm gonna run them off the cab top, down in between the cab and the truck bed, underneath the truck bed, and then up into the truck bed through hopefully one of those holes. So trial and error here, we're gonna see how it goes. But first, let me show you guys what I've done around the truck and then we'll jump onto the roof rack. So one of the biggest things first is you may notice that for the first time, really almost ever, this truck is finally sitting level front to back. I actually changed the leaf spring setup again after making my last wheel and suspension video. So I ended up taking the overload leaves out of the new leaf packs, and with the 4-inch shackles in the back versus the 6-inch, the truck finally sits level. The drive line is nice and happy and doesn't vibrate, and I'm much more happy with the truck sitting level. It looks freaking awesome. And then as I build out the camper end here and add more weight to it, if it starts to sag, I can just add the overload leaves back in, which will raise the back end up about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. So that should leave some wiggle room there. But overall, so excited to finally have this thing sitting level. So if you guys watched my last wheel and suspension video, you would see that I put on these 4-inch shackles, which got my shackle angle to sit closer to 45 degrees, as well as lowered the truck to sit the way it does now. But I didn't paint them, and they were just raw steel, so they were immediately starting to rust. So I, off camera, hit these with basically self-etching primer, and then also, it was aluminum spray paint, and then I added a bunch of clear coat on top, so that way they look the way they do now. So very happy with that. They shouldn't rust on me, and re-greased everything, so far the shackles are working out awesome. As far as the leaf springs go, you can see that I'm running basically just the 3 main leaves without the overload leaf, so that's what that looks like. And there's still some good arch in it. It looks good, sits well, rides well, pretty dang happy with it. Little side note, I spent some time cleaning these old wheels and tires up. The old 33s with I think these are like a bullet hole styled wheel. Cleaned these up, and I'm gonna be putting them up for sale on Marketplace. So hopefully, you know, recoup a little bit of money that I had to spend on my current tire setup, which obviously looks freaking awesome, but they were a little pricey, so I'd love to recoup a little bit of the funds on that. So hopefully be able to sell those wheels pretty quick. Off camera, just because it's a tedious, boring process, but I switched out the LEDs. There's 4 of them on the back of the cluster here. Like I was saying before, the old LEDs, they lasted about 3 or 4 months before the diode started flickering and then eventually just turning off altogether. And so I had no dash lights at the end. And I've ordered new bulbs from a different brand, so I'm hoping these diodes last a lot longer, hopefully years. But now we have working green LEDs in here. So looks good. It's actually a lot brighter than the OEM halogen bulb, so you can actually see it during the daytime. The only thing that doesn't work is the dimming option on these, which I never really used the dimming option, but with the LEDs, they're either on or they're off and you can't dim them. So I'll just leave that at full tilt. And now we have working LEDs in the cluster again, which is freaking awesome. I can see how fast I'm going. So this roof rack is actually built for the extended cab Tacoma because it doesn't have rear doors. It doesn't utilize basically all of the you know how normal roof rack clamps on your front door, clamps on your rear door? At least some cars, sometimes they have the upper railing, which the Tacoma first gen does not. This one basically is built for an extended cab, so it uses one clamp up here and then a separate clamp here and runs to this back crossbar, so you can push this all the way back. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make this fit because the GFC here comes a lot further forward, so we'll see. Got the roof rack kind of mocked up here, not tightened down, but just kind of sitting where I want it to. So you can see that it clamps onto the door with this one and then this one, but this rear bar does not actually attach to the door. And that's where this cross member here comes into play, is because that cross member is supposed to extend all the way back to here to allow that to still be seated down firmly onto the roof because it's still attached to the door in these 2 spots. But because of the overhang on the GFC, I've got all this extra overhang here because it'll clear, but with any flex of the truck, it's probably gonna hit this bar if I push it all the way back underneath. So with a little bit of research online last night, it looks like if I do mess this up, I can order new ones, these pieces here, but I wanna go ahead and cut them down so that way they're not nearly as long, and then it'll look a lot better instead of having these like 2 antennae coming off of the roof. So I cut off about 8 inches or so on either side, and we'll see how it fits now. I'm gonna get everything torqued down on the roof rack and junk these in the trash. Okay, so good news, bad news. Bad news is the solar panel I have is 100 watts and butting almost all the way up against the front of the GFC comes out and almost overhangs the windshield. So almost as long as what the pieces are that I just cut down. So probably should have thought that one through a little more, but the good news is I can still utilize the roof rack to put my recovery boards on top of. And I think the better plan for solar, because I have all this real estate on top of the GFC, I could probably fit upwards to like 400 watts of solar up there, whether that be 2 200 watt panels or possibly 4 100 watt panels. And then, I could probably do the stick-on ones that lay flat and flush on top of the GFC, so that way I'm not adding more height to the top of the rig. And that's the way it's gonna go. And honestly, it kind of works out because 100 watts of solar for the kind of travel I want to do is not enough. So even if I was able to get one 100 watt solar panel up here, I'd still have to add more to the GFC. So I didn't have a spot for my recovery boards. Now I do. And I'm gonna basically keep it. It still looks better with this cut down, and I'm glad I did it because they need to be kind of narrow and close together, the crossbars, to allow the recovery boards to sit nicely on top. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get everything cinched down and figure out how I'm gonna adhere the recovery boards to the roof rack. We'll see how that goes. Well, there you have it. Roof rack has been trimmed short and I've got the recovery boards up on top. The pieces that I cut right here, I could probably cut a little more, but I'm gonna leave them for now just in case I wanna make further adjustments. And then I also wanna add possibly like a wind fairing to the front. and those may or may not help being longer. So I'm gonna leave those the way they are for now. I do still have to figure out how I'm going to adhere the recovery boards to the roof rack. I've lined it up so that way the handles on the sides kind of sit right over top the bars, so I can hopefully wrap it with something. But it'd be more ideal to have like a screw setup, so I may try and like manufacture some clamps or something or another to run some like twist bolts down into, you know, the ones with like, you can grab them and twist them by hand. You don't need a wrench. That way I can get these off when I need to in a pinch pretty quickly. But overall, looks pretty good. Being black recovery boards, they hide pretty well right in front of the GFC, so it all kind of looks like one, I don't know, large piece of equipment, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. With the GFC looking all boxy and kind of utility wise, I think the roof rack and the recovery boards just sit really nice in front of it, and they actually aren't sitting any taller than the GFC, so I haven't added any extra height, which is nice. And yeah, now I've got a place for my recovery boards, so pretty excited with how it's coming out. Looks really good. And on to the next thing. I did almost forget to mention, if you look at the truck, anybody who's been watching the channel will notice perhaps something very subtle, and that is the driver's side is not sagging anymore. So what I ended up doing was, again, you guys are freaking awesome in the comments. I love it. Keep them coming. One of you guys said either get coilovers that are adjustable so you can set them side by side. You can adjust them individually side by side, or get a puck spacer on the driver's side to lift it up a little bit, or take since I'm running the Bilstein shocks, they have 3 different levels. So you have low, a little bit higher, highest, and they're all about 1/4 inch apart. So I had both sides set to the top, so it was going to be the highest lift possible. And what I did was take out the passenger side strut and basically lower that collar down by 1 notch, which is about 1/4 inch, and that was enough to level out the truck. So now it sits freaking awesome. Sits awesome this way and sits awesome this way. So really couldn't be happier with the way the Tacoma looks right now. So that is something I wanted to let you guys know, because one, if anybody else is dealing with the same issue, could be a possible fix. But then also, I really appreciate all the comments and the advice on this stuff, because I hadn't even thought about doing that. And now I'm a happy camper. And speaking of camper, I'll put a clip at the end of this video of the kitten, because I know so many of you love to see her, and as do I. But she's been a house kitten for now, and couldn't be happier with the way she's kind of like just grown into the family. So far so good. But stay tuned. I'll throw a clip at the end of Camp the Kitten at the end of the video. So the next thing to adjust is the freaking TV. It's awesome. It's working out great. This clamp is holding on nice and strong, but when I'm driving and taking turns, this guy tends to swivel out. So I want to try and tighten these down. There's an Allen here, an Allen here, and an Allen here. And I want to try and get these to sit a little bit tighter, so that way when I turn predominantly right, the TV doesn't want to like push out. So I don't know. That's already pretty dang tight. I don't want to break it, but hopefully, come on. That feels a lot stiffer. Okay. Do the same with this guy. Did they not use the same Allen there? They didn't. Okay, well, I'll skip to this one. So we'll get this, oh my gosh. This guy a bit tighter. How do I do this without breaking something? Give me my Allen back. And I think, yeah, that's a lot more tight. Okay. And then I think I just have to pop on a smaller Allen for this one. I'm definitely curious to see how this TV setup is gonna work if I actually do some off-roading and take it on some tougher terrain. I would not be shocked if it kind of, oh, I have to use, oh, that's a pain. I have to hold one end and tighten the other at the same time. Okay, stand by. Anyways, actually, I'm wondering if this is gonna work, you know, off-road. It's a swivel, so I don't know if the TV is just gonna completely fall off. I got it at Goodwill for $9, so if it does, not the end of the world, but be interesting to see how it stands up. I'm gonna go find another Allen and knock this out off camera, because it's just tightening an Allen. So stand by for the next thing. All right, so the next thing to fix on this is going to be, sorry, loud motorcycle. The next thing to fix on this is going to be all my missing steel strips for my blackout cover here on the back window. A lot of them, most of them fell off, so I need to put them back on. The sticky tape that came on them was just not good enough, and I think that's because the GFC panel isn't completely flat. It's kind of got this texture, so as moisture and condensation and stuff gets in these little dimples, it separates the tape. So what I'm going to try is this Gorilla double-sided tape. It's the reason I went with it versus regular double-sided tape is it's almost the width of these, so I can kind of get away with replacing the sticky stuff on the backside and cover most of this steel circle, if that makes sense. Instead of having to like use a knife and cut two pieces to make it the full width of this, this pretty much does that all with one piece. So time will tell. I'm gonna cut these and try and get these all attached back on here. Okay, well the curtain is, well actually the curtain's already done, but the new magnets are in. So I'm gonna close this, jump in the side, and I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, so graceful. Okay. Ugh. So that tape, I can already tell, is gonna hold up way better. It's got a lot more thickness to it, so it sits in these dimples or the texturing on the GFC panel a lot better. I also took my time to really make sure these were all in the right spots, so that should probably help. But now we can take the blackout curtain, which by the way, this has been like honestly 2 months in the making between getting the fabric, cutting it, sewing it, putting the Reflectix inside, figuring out what magnets work. But check this out, super satisfying. Just clicks right into place, and absolutely no light gets out, and you can't see anything from the outside. Even with this light right above it, a magnet every 6 inches or so keeps all the light out, and it's pretty tough. Like, even if it was sagging there, that's how strong the magnets are. It doesn't want to fall off, so pretty dang satisfying. And glad to finally be done with this project, because like I said, it was a long time in the making, but now we have working blackout curtain. Heck yeah. And just to show you how well it does work, obviously I've got the lights full on in here. Can't see anything. Absolutely no light coming through there. So even in all the seams, even if you look directly up towards that light, nothing. So what an awesome blackout curtain. Saved a bunch of money too by not ordering the ones online and just making it myself. It was definitely a lot of work, but the result is perfect. So, as always, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Not a camping video, but like I said, it's the other half of getting the rig ready to go out on cool adventures, and that's working on it, which can be fun in its own way. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any ideas on how to mount the recovery boards to the roof rack, I don't want to drill into the roof rack itself because it's basically just steel bars that are covered in like a rubber coating. So if I drill into that, it's going to rust and let water in for sure. So I'm trying to find a way to, maybe if this was the bar, make a clamp that I can bolt down through. Perhaps that would work. But if you guys have any good ideas, you guys have been more than helpful in the past, so I'm keen to hear what you have to say. But I hope you guys enjoyed it and maybe got something out of it. If you did, leave a thumbs up, comments below, and cue up the cat. I'll see you guys next time. Keep elevating. Love you.